Bonjour.
Hello and welcome to So French, the show about the twists and turns, intrigues and insights to all things French.
Every 2 weeks we select the best, most interesting and fascinating of French news stories, all brought to you from our studio in the heart of Paris. My name is Stefan de Vries.
And my name is Sarah Bertilsson.
And this week, the police raided the offices of Les Insoumises, the left-wing party, and that didn't go down very well with its leader, Jean Luc Mélenchon.
And a new measure to improve air conditions in France's major cities will car tolls save its inhabitants from pollution.
And we also have the verdict in a murder case that was most talked about in Monaco. But first, we finally have a new government, Sarah.
It took some time. I mean, 2 weeks ago we said that this was going to happen very soon.
Yeah.
It did not happen very soon. It went on and on for more than 2 weeks.
Absolutely. But now finally, President Macron and Prime Minister Edouard Philippe, they agreed and found the right candidates for the job.
Well, at least they did find some candidates for the job.
Yeah, because there was a trouble as well, because they asked many people to become a minister.
Yeah, it sounds like, at least from what we've been hearing in the media over the last weeks, that a lot of people were asked, but refused to actually enter the government.
Yeah, I read that there were about 10 people who refused to become a minister under Macron. What does that say about Macron and his government?
I think there are several things you can read it in several ways. I mean, one fact is that Emmanuel Macron doesn't have the political experience and the decades-long personal links and connections to people that other presidents have had, where, when things starting to get a bit rough, you can always rely on your old friends from, back in the days. But Emmanuel Macron, 40 years old, no long political career behind him, he doesn't have those friends. So yes, I think it's a fact that, it shows that sometimes being new and being new in politics isn't that easy, and especially not in that kind of position.
Yeah, I also read that he asked Claire Chazal as a Minister of Culture. She's a very well-known TV personality, but she said no as well.
Probably for the best, I don't know. No, but then there is also, of course, another way of seeing this is that there has been a lot of bashing and criticism of the Emmanuel Macron government ever since it took office, or ever since he took office. The fact that, it has been described as chaotic and inexperienced and amateurish or anything. So in one way, maybe you could say that, well, the bashing has worked because people are now afraid of entering and being, linked to this government. Truth or not true, whatever. Since we're not in government, we can't really know and can't really say what is happening inside. But it's for sure that the image of the presidency has taken a big toll, not only over these last couple of weeks, but even before. And that has made people and politicians a bit afraid of, entering this,
machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now, there are a couple of new people. Some of the old ministers left. Some of them were replaced by people who were already in the government. Let's have a look at a couple of the new members of the third government already of Edouard Philippe. First of all, the new interior minister. Now, Gérard Collomb, he resigned 2 weeks ago. We talked about that. A very loyal supporter of Macron, also the mayor of Lyon. He left completely, not in a very chic way. Just send a text message or something like that. Not very gallant, indeed. So it took a while to replace him because, of course, the interior minister is very important, probably the most important minister after the prime minister. Who is he?
Well, it's Christophe Castaner, and for those who remember, we actually did talk about Christophe Castaner as a possible replacement. We did say...
so it shows that we know what we're talking about, right?
I also said that many say that he is too inexperienced.
Okay.
But, it ended up being Christophe Castaner. But we were right in a little bit regarding the fact that he's inexperienced, because he has been put with a babysitter, we can say, because he's the interior minister, but at his side to sort of help him in this position. He has gotten an experienced man from the domestic intelligence world. So yes, Christophe Castaner, very close to Emmanuel Macron, part of the beginning. I mean, those who support him in the beginning, but maybe not with the experience that is necessary for interior minister when it comes to security issues.
He is a former socialist, very loyal to Emmanuel Macron, so that he was basically rewarded for his loyalty. And of course, there's some important tasks that he will have to fulfill. First of all, there's of course the security situation, but also the introduction of the neighborhood police, something that exists.
Reintroduction.
Yeah, reintroduction. Very controversial in France. So bringing the police back into the streets, closer to the people, but also the upcoming European elections. He was the head, or maybe he still is, of La République En Marche.
He resigned.
He already resigned. Okay, so he was leading the political party of Emmanuel Macron. Now, this party is not doing really well in the polls. Well, not as good as they're supposed to be. They're now at the 21% for the European elections. And Marine Le Pen is 20.5%. So she's really close. And these are in May. And also, the relation between the police and the government are not really good.
It's called here in France the malaise within the police. And it's no, and I mean, it is true that the police force and, the gendarmerie, which is then the military police, have been under an extreme pressure and stretched to their maximum, especially since the 2015, when we had several terrorist attacks in France. And there has been, the amount of overtime that hasn't been paid is
millions and millions of hours.
Enormous. Yeah. So people just continue to work and do their overtime, but they never get the chance to actually either take time off or get paid for it. So this is a big, big issue, and this is something that the new interior minister will have to deal with. But what it sounds like is that, at least what I've heard from the police unions, is that they're quite optimistic regarding this new duo, should say, with Christophe Castaner and Laurent Nunez, as his name is, the former head of domestic intelligence.
Then there's the Ministry of Culture and Communication, very important in France, culture being one of the biggest budgets of the government. Françoise Nyssen, she was sent away.
Well, yes, but she's involved in this scandal regarding undeclared work in her old workplace. So it sort of became a bit of a media circus around her, and I think, it got not possible to continue in that way.
Yeah, and apparently she was not a good manager at the Ministry of Culture. There are a lot of big egos at the ministry, apparently.
Probably not a very easy ministry to deal with
very
either.
Very pretentious as well.
For her, to her defense.
So the new minister is Franck Riester. He's a right-winger. He's a former member of the UMP, so the party of Sarkozy, now called Les Républicains.
That he formed his own little branch of, we should say. After the elections, he actually created this Agir party or wing, which is a party of the Republicans, of the Conservative Party, that wanted to work then more closely with the government, with Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah, and closely linked also to Alain Juppé, the former prime minister. And he was also the first French MP in 2011 who came out as gay. Now, then there is a lot of talk about Emmanuelle Wargon.
Not only for her name, which is
rhymes
a
on
bit
Macron.
something to talk about it.
Exactly. She's 46 years old. She's been appointed junior environment minister, but it's more her previous job that is causing, not a scandal, but people are talking about. She was the head of public affairs of the big French dairy group Danone. So why is this a problem, Sarah?
Well, if we just roll back the tape a little bit and remember what happened just a little bit more than a month ago when the old environment minister resigned, Nicolas Hulot. He resigned, and he said it was partly or mostly because of the influence of lobbyists within the government, and especially within in these issues when it comes to environmental issues. So that was a big thing. And Emmanuel Marcon, now entering the environmental ministry, is controversial because she has, in her previous job, as you said, defended the use of palm oil. This, as we know, a very controversial product that is used everywhere, but is also leading to deforestation in many countries and part of the big global environmental issues.
You can never do good, eh? If you have no experience, then you're not good. If you have experience,
but the fact is, I think we need to be a little bit more measured when we look at Emmanuelle Marcon. She worked 3 years for Danone. That is true. Danone is not a lobbying firm. It's a private company that is, as you said, a dairy company. She did not defend palm oil generally. She defended it very particularly in the use for baby formula.
In a panel, so it was like a debate.
It was a debate,
with other
and
people.
she said that we can defend the use of palm oil in these particular products. You can be against it, you can be, but I think the discussion needs to be a little bit more measured. And also, she worked 3 years with Danone, but what did she do before that? She has had a full career in public service. She actually went to school in the same promo as Edouard Philippe, the Prime Minister. So she's come from a very classic public service career before entering Danone. But we will see what happens. She's very, very criticized. We will see.
And then, the last one to mention is maybe the youngest minister ever in modern French history. That's Gabriel Attal. He's only 29 years old, and he is the new Minister of Youth.
That's
fittingly, right? Yeah. So this is the new government. It was a bit of a headache for Macron and Philippe to get this far, but it was not as difficult as it was for our next politician.
Now, so we said it's been a rough week for French politics. It's been a physically tough one for some.
Especially for Jean Luc Mélenchon. He's the leader of the Insoumises, how would you say it in English? The
Unbowed France party, I think some are translating it.
Yeah, the unsubmitted ones. It's a strange name. But he's the leader. He's well known in France as a left-wing politician. He was also a candidate last year at the presidential election.
Firebrand. I think he's a very
passionate,
yes.
hot-headed. Explosive.
I don't know, charismatic if you like that kind of
big
activism.
Mouth. He has a big mouth. He's always complaining at journalists but this week French prosecutors announced that they were investigating him and they raided his home and also the party headquarters, and that led to a really explosive confrontation. Let's have a listen.
La République, c'est moi! C'est moi qui suis parlementaire! Poussez-vous de là, ouvrez-moi cette porte! Elle craque. Allez, on va voir qui va avoir le dernier mot ici.
So that's Jean Luc Mélenchon saying, "I am the Republic." Do not touch me, I am the Republic. And this was, these raids, so they went on almost for full days, but different places. And they led to some quite tough interaction between then police and supporters of Jean-Luc Mélenchon, and as we could hear,
and
even
MPs
and
as
himself.
Well. And himself. And we all know this because everything was broadcast live on Facebook.
Exactly. He was filming everything and making sure that it went straight out on the internet. These raids actually go back. They go back to two different stories. One is an investigation into the funding of his campaign up to the 2017 presidential election, where there is some questioning about money haven't been used as it has to, according to very strict laws. The other investigation is into one that actually started with the far right at the EU in Brussels, where political parties got money from the EU for work, for the parliamentarian work in the EU. But then this money was actually used for party work in France.
Which is
so
forbidden.